They both smell so bad.
Is that a common thing for kitties that they fart a lot? I don't
I don't
remember
think.
that.
Yeah, I don't think so. That's the first that has ever happened. So
That's exciting. Cheers to that.
I think it was the boy. He's like, I don't want to sit down for your meeting, and then he just started farting.
Then
It's
Yeah,
fine.
pretty much.
I'm used to it. I would be used to it.
Newton just had a sneeze fit, and both Justin and I are like, that's a lot of action. And he like had like 10 sneezes in a row and got up and
Oh
then
my
like meandered
gosh.
to his food and started eating. So he's fine.
Oh yeah, I gotcha.
So, Hanya, okay, well, where we used to live, we used to live in a basement apartment, and we would let her outside periodically, supervised at least, but really the only thing she would ever want to do was chew on grass. And so we were like, oh yeah, that's totally cool. Until I think one time we went to the vet and we realized like, oh, that could actually be bad for them to be constantly chewing on grass because apparently, um, like a pieces of grass or a piece of grass can sort of like curl up into their sinuses and get stuck in like their sinus and get like infected and whatever. And if it gets really bad, they have to have surgery to remove it.
Oh
So
no.
we're like,
Oh
holy crap.
wow.
So we're like, okay, we're gonna not let Ponyo do that anymore because she would do it a lot. Like that's all she would want to do when she'd go outside. So then, of course, there was this moment where she was just constantly sneezing. We're like, oh my gosh, what is happening? So we like, I think there was at one point where it was so bad we like emergency called the vet at like 10 o'clock at night because she was sneezing so much she couldn't do anything else basically. And so we explained that she had chewed on grass and then uh they're like, oh yeah, it can get stuck in their sinuses, and we're like, oh my gosh. So she kept doing it for a few days, but we're like, I mean, there's no way that you can tell really. So then like a few days later, she has this like major sneezing attack. I mean, it's like sneeze, 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 like over and over where you can't even like barely take a breath. And I see this little thing sticking in her nostril. It's like, oh my gosh, Bo, it's a piece of grass. Look. And so he just like pins it down with his hand. So as she like is jerking her head, it just pulls out. And it was this big old long piece of grass that came out of her nose. And it was crazy. And it smelled really bad because it had been sitting in there for like several days and was like starting to get infected. So glad like she sneezed it out, but we were like, holy crap, we're so thankful that we were
Dang,
able to get it
yeah.
out this way and not have to
Yeah,
have surgery. But ever
yeah,
since then, we were like, you can't go outside and chew grass. We've been
Bad
super
cat.
conscious of
oh
it. We
wow.
had no idea that could be a thing, but the like constant sneezing made me think of that, where it's just like over and over and over, where you like can't even catch a breath or like say like if you were a person to like say anything, or I mean it's just like constant sneezing and it's like holy crap, it's wild. Anyway,
Also, that's
Wow.
not chewing grass. That's swallowing whole blades of grass.
Yeah.
right, she would like, I mean I guess she would just go and like gnaw on pieces of grass and like clearly got like whole pieces in her mouth and then like was probably swallowing them, but somehow they just sort of, because they can be long pieces, they can like flip up into their sinuses because of how small their little faces are.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just wild. I mean, it's pretty normal for animals to chew on, like to eat grass when their tummy is upset and stuff, but like I know dogs do it
Yeah.
a lot, but it was the craziest thing. We're like, the vet told us about this, and then it literally happened.
Speaking of
It's
chewing on
wild.
grass,
Yeah, actually,
what a randomly awesome
good
segue.
segue.
Perfect.
Amazing.
The best
Uh,
segue.
Sleds, The Lawnmower Man by Stephen King.
Um, weirdest and grossest and creepiest, maybe not creepiest,
Yeah.
but just like grossest for sure short story I think I've ever read. That was
Yeah.
something else.
It
I
went
d-
south
mean-
so fast.
It did. It really did.
It
I
was
didn't know
totally
where it was
normal.
going.
And I was like, that lawnmower's coming back. The one he sold. I know it. It's a possessed lawnmower. No, it didn't. It had nothing to do with the story.
Oh man. Yeah, within like Thomas, you pointed out within like the first couple paragraphs, it gets gross very quickly, and the cat accidentally runs under the lawnmower, and I just like cringed when I read that. I was like, no. And then the description of the guy that comes over, and it's like a good old Southern guy, I guess, with like a pot belly.
But like
And
also like
then,
a Bible salesman kind of deal, like where he's like
yeah,
too nice.
yeah. And then suddenly he's just naked.
Yeah, that was
All of a
okay.
sudden.
Him just like being naked. It was like, what? Wait, why is he just buck ass naked all of a sudden?
And also like the weird self-driving red lawnmower that like woke him up that made him like run it made what was his name? Harvey? Harold run outside.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know. I could not. I didn't know what to expect with this. Like as I started reading, I was like, okay, cool. It's about a man and his lawn. How could you possibly foresee or guess? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
This is wild.
Yeah, I
I don't
expected that lawnmower that he sells at the very beginning to like come back in some way and like be possessed and keep trying to mow his
Mhm.
lawn.
It's like trying to take revenge on him because he sold it or something. I guess, yeah, some weird
Yeah.
like.
Or once his lawn was growing crazy long, I was like, oh, maybe it's going to be like in the tall grass and he's going to get lost in it. And it's going to be like weird that he can get lost in a yard. But
Mm.
no, we got the fat
Also,
fatty.
okay, so a big
Satyr?
thought that I had kind of the
Satyr?
whole time was that, dude, just like get off your ass and go mow the lawn. Like, okay, cool. So I get like, yeah, at one summer you were paying a kid to do it because he was like in the neighborhood a few houses down or whatever. Maybe you're busy with work, whatever, cool, great. That kid has now gone off to college. You sold the lawnmower that killed the cat. I guess because you thought it was cursed or something. Which, I mean, okay, I could get behind that. I don't know, get a new lawnmower and then just
Yeah.
mow the lawn.
Can you imagine
Good
like
lord.
living in Georgia? And this, I thought about that too. Like, if we hadn't mowed our lawn until mid-July, which is when he calls,
Yes,
like
it would be a forest.
it would be nuts. Yeah, there'd be like
It would be
brambles in it and stuff.
insanity. You don't need just a lawnmower. You need like I don't a landscaping team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In,
With one of those giant $7,000 zero turn things that you can ride standing up.
Have y'all ever used one of those?
No.
They're intense.
Nope, I have not.
It feels like too much power for what you're doing.
I would love to ride one of those. It looked
Man,
fun riding.
they can go fast too. Yeah, where you like stand on the skis on the back of it.
Yeah.
I've only done it once. I mowed my uncle's lawn, and he lived in like Bumblefuck somewhere, and had like a bunch of acres, and had one of those. So I like went over to help him out, and yeah, you could get some speed on those puppies.
Oh,
You
really?
could endanger yourself very easily.
I'm probably wondering what I'm doing. I'm looking for a cup.
I'm enjoying it.
Literally no cups.
I like that you're using the camera to look.
Wait.
It's okay.
Where
No,
are my
I
cups?
love the I don't know. I don't even know
The
what word I'm
tour?
looking for here.
No,
Yeah,
we're
sure.
not allowed in the kitchen.
Are
We're
we
not allowed in the kitchen.
Are we recording? I feel like we are, right?
Oh,
I
no,
think
we're
so.
recording all of this.
Oh, this is all
What
great slut content.
Yes.
Oh, you go
This is the
down there.
content they look for. This is the content I look for.
Making
I
me like
just-
flashback to the furniture moving company where like I would use my phone to look at high shelves to like see
Oh
if there's
yeah.
anything left.
I'm sorry. All I wanted to do was get a cup so I could
You
get a
should
drink after work.
you
You
should
need a
not
drink,
apologize.
sweet Jeremy.
It's okay. It's roughly I mean, it's the same as me. Instead of taking the camera, I'm just leaving with my headphones still on and my mic still working because this doesn't use Bluetooth. It uses a dongle. So it has a pretty
Oh,
good
nice.
range. It actually has a pretty good range to reach.
Oh, really?
So I might like there's been times where I've been like I've walked into the kitchen to like go get something and I'm still talking to you guys. But I'm not on camera. So
Stop
it's
trying
kind
to
of
go
like
behind the fridge.
I can
That's
fit
dangerous.
there though.
Oh man, you guys.
Man, so when Newton was it was like maybe 2 days after he had the seizure and like gone to the vet, he like keeps like phasing in and out. So like he just kind of goes into like dormant phase where he's just the medicine's hitting him really hard and he's like confused. And so he kept crawling into areas that were like really small and tight, which is unlike him. So he'd like, get up to walk around and then we'd
oh.
find him like in our roommate's closet, just like standing like in the corner of boxes, just like confused.
Oh my
It's like,
gosh. Wait, was
oh,
this
buddy.
recently? Wait, yeah, because
Yeah.
your roommate. Okay, yeah. Oh my goodness.
That
Poor
sweet
little
dumb
guy.
boy.
He's
He's just like, I walked
oh,
somewhere. Now I don't know where I am, Daddy.
oh. He's so sweet.
So
He's
sweet.
like the sweetest boy ever. Just so calm and happy to be with his people.
Yeah,
I love
there's
it.
like no malice in his little
I know.
mind.
He's just like
He's
pet
doing
me.
so much better.
I'm so
He's not
glad.
even capable of it.
Yeah. Was he was it last weekend that he
Yeah, it was last Saturday. I think
yeah.
I got up at about 7.
Uh-huh.
Just stepped outside of the door and he was right there.
Yeah. Oh.
Sweet baby. He's
I
doing so good though.
know. Good.
And it's funny because like his favorite thing to do is eat, and he's more himself the
Yep.
farther away from eating he gets, because we give him, it's like a liquid, so we just squirt it into his food because otherwise it like freaks him out.
Right.
So like he gets all excited, he's like, oh, it's time to eat again, and he goes in there, he's like, nom nom nom. And so like about halfway through, like, the portion that we give him, he's like, the medicine starts hitting him, and so we'll like look over at him and he'll just be standing over it. Just like wobbling.
Oh no.
Sweet boy. And so like he'll like come to
Oh.
and be like, oh shit, food. Nom, nom, nom. And then he'll like go into stasis again.
What did the vet say? I mean, obviously, I guess it was a seizure, right? But what did they say?
Idiopathic epilepsy, which is basically like epilepsy and we don't know why.
Yeah.
And he's always been kind of neurodivergent, so that could
Yeah.
contribute to it. And they said,
Right.
we could do an MRI, but that'll cost $1,000. And most of the time, something like 80% of cats that get epilepsy, there's nothing there on an MRI.
Right.
So
Happens.
they prescribe medication, and the medication is less to prevent seizures and more to make them more manageable. It's an anticonvulsant.
Okay.
So, and he's had 2 now, and they've been about 8 months apart.
Oh, okay. He's had another one
Yeah,
8 months before
he had
this.
one
Okay.
previously. So, like, it was something that we were looking out for and like ready to act upon, but this one was a lot worse.
Yeah.
But the medication has a really good track record of minimizing the effects of the seizures and discomfort during them and the bounce back afterwards.
Right.
So And we're working from home now, so that's really nice. We're able to like really monitor him a lot more closely than we would have been if we weren't working from home. And we're fairly certain he hasn't had any that we were unaware of, just because like when it happens, there's things that like, signs that we would be able to see that we just haven't seen. So, it could have been so much worse in a lot of ways. And we were able to like really get in front of it.
That's good that you at least know he hasn't had any others that you're not aware of.
Yeah, and all of his blood work's really good, because that's something that can happen too. Like when cats get older, they drink less water, so their kidneys start to get damaged and their livers get damaged, which can cause seizures. But like all of his blood work and all of his blood work in the past has been just perfect. Like everything is good. He's a little chunky, but besides that,
he didn't look chunky to me.
He doesn't look chunky at all.
Perfect little boy.
Perfect weight.
Shaped like a basketball.
I swear though, the scales at the vet like way heavier because maybe I'm just making it up. Okay, but Ponyo has definitely lost a bunch of weight since we moved into where we are at now. And I can tell I don't even need to weigh her. I can just tell by looking at her that she's lost even more weight in the last probably year. We don't really take her to the vet until something actually happens or like something's going on. Like the biggest thing that we've taken her to the vet for recently is she often has like constipation issues. And they keep telling us that like, oh, this just comes with older age. And I'm like, look, I've had older cats before and none of them had issues with constipation. So I don't totally believe you. Anyway, so we don't take her to the vet for like regular checkups or anything, which, somebody could crucify me for that. But
I mean, that's kind of the same way we've always operated with our pets, like growing up and myself as an adult. Like you bring them when they're young, get a chip, get shots, when they're young, and then
yes. But other than that, it's kind of like a human being. Well, okay, you have a pediatrician as a kid, and then you should have a primary care doctor as an adult, but I don't think I've seen a doctor in years. Anyway.
Me neither. The last time I went to a doctor was my physical. That was mandatory before rehab.
Right. And the last physical I got was probably like high school. So anyway.
What's a physical? Like, what does that even mean?
They basically just like
naked
check
in front of a stranger.
You get naked in front of a doctor, and they check out your entire body to make sure that you are like physically good to go.
Except they don't look at the things you really want them to look at, because you don't tell them you're anything like me.
Yeah. As a preteen, it was awful because they check things that you as a preteen don't want to think about when you're a preteen. Yeah. Anyway. But anyway, so I don't remember where I was going with this, but I was saying we take Bonnie to the vet only when like things happen, which really recently has been just like she occasionally has some constipation and we'll just have like a blowout, but she won't do it in the litter box. She'll do it like outside of the litter box in the apartment. And you're like, Ponyo, there's poop everywhere. Why would you do that? And you're like, oh God. So then you have to like find all the places that she like pooped everywhere. It's awful.
Oh man, when Newton came back, he was constipated and like didn't go for the first like I think 2.5 days.
Oh no.
So I think he finally went Monday. Yeah. And they gave him like really heavy sedatives at the vet because like he wasn't feeling well and they wanted to check him, and like he was freaking out anytime anybody touched him, so they had to like really sedate him. Any sedative will cause constipation, people or cats. So Monday he's like finally going to the litter box, and I pulled it out so it was easier to access and took the top off of it so it was easier to get in, but he was still like really struggling physically, and also like would reset anytime you touched him. So he was like trying to get in it and struggling. So I was like, I'll help you, buddy. And I like lift him up and put him in there, and that like reset his little pie brain. So he'd be like, just stand there and then like feel, and he would like move his feet and like look down at his legs and like and like get out of the litter box, like stumble out of it, and then like do a lap around the room and then go back to the litter box because he has to poop and like struggle to get in again. So I had to like construct a blanket
Oh.
staircase for him.
That's so nice of you.
Like a 30-minute thing, and I was like trying to help him in there, but it like kept messing him up. I was like cramping his style.
Oh,
Oh,
We made it
the
work.
little
that's cute.
the
though.
little girl cat
Sweet.
uh is still learning how to use the litter box,
Yeah.
but she doesn't like to just go like out in the open, like out in public. She wants to hide
That makes sense.
instinctively.
Yeah. They like to hide it. Yeah.
So she was like, instead of just going out in the middle of the floor, she's like, I'll show you where she hid.
Oh no.
So we got this whole area. So not a whole lot of places to hide, right?
I
And
mean, for a small kitten, I can see a lot of places.
oh, that's true.
But
That's true.
yeah.
But she decided that
Oh
this
no.
computer case that's super dusty, she's like, I'm gonna hide behind this computer case and poop all over these wires.
Oh
Perfect.
no.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Amazing.
Delightful.
Super easy to
Oh,
clean.
they're fighting.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, they just stopped.
Oh my gosh. Look
I
at them.
see his little face like stare at you
I
like
know
I
the
know
little
you're
face
talking
like,
about me.
I didn't do anything.
You're not in trouble.
I realized I was probably explaining our apartment like this poop infested place, but it's not.
No, I've
No,
seen
no, not at
blowouts.
all.
This was like maybe 6 months ago. Newton doesn't like throw up very often. Some cats are more prone to it. But
Yeah, Bunny will do it every once in a while.
he had just eaten like his breakfast, and I was walking from the living room into the kitchen, and he's walking away from his food bowl, and I'm like, "Hey, buddy," and he looks up at me and just goes, "This," and it was
Oh,
so much. I mean, like the pool was like this big. I was
was
like,
it
"What the
Oh,
hell, buddy?" And he's like,
was it like mostly liquid
"Yeah, it was
or
all liquid. Like he had like
okay?
drank water for the first time ever."
Jesus
So yeah,
Water,
I
this
just
is
walked up
so
and I'm like,
good.
"Hey,
Barf.
buddy," and he looks at me and just goes, "Bleh." It just kept going. I was like, "Oh my god,
What are you doing?
sweet boy." And then he was fine.
Wow.
And then he was mad and hungry again because he just threw it all up.
um, in Lawnmower Man, when it was describing the satyr with like the cloven hooves and like his paunch, like his big gross belly, and he's like naked.
Yes. Yeah, he's
Okay.
like covered in like the green juice from the. It was just
Oh,
such
I
a
know, I
nasty
know.
description.
The
Oh,
image
I
of
was,
him like
Yeah, and
on the
it's
ground behind it,
describing.
like
but
nah,
like
nah, nah.
crawling and like just
Yeah,
gnawing on everything. Like,
yeah.
ugh, it was
It was
so gross.
so vile.
It was
So the
vile.
first thing I thought of was, you know, the animated Hercules film from
Oh my
Disney,
gosh.
Oh,
the fat little satyr guy.
I gotta look him up.
Yes. Oh
Is
my
that
gosh.
not
Wait, no,
did
he chews on grass because he's like a a goat
A goat
basically.
person. Phil,
Yeah, he's
that
I
like
was
a
think
his name.
so.
It was
Phil.
Danny
Yeah.
DeVito.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you're right. It was Danny, which is perfect. No, my God. Oh, I don't know why I didn't think of that, but you're right. And
Yeah.
that would fit in with the whole like goat sort of satanic connection.
Oh
You
yeah.
know what I mean? Because was clearly,
Right.
if not Satan, a
Mhm.
link to
A
Satan of
rep.
some sort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, that
I
would
just
that would.
made
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, like you mentioned it, Christy, and I just made that connection where it's like a little goat man, and then they eat
Yeah,
grass, and I'm like, oh, okay, duh, that makes perfect sense. But like, I just made that
I did. No, I
connection.
did too. I did too.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. Okay,
But
that makes more sense.
yeah, I remember when I was trying to hype up the story for you guys, I was like, you know, in Sandman where he has the muse locked away, it's like the author has the muse locked away and it kind of
Right.
mixes modern day with like old Greek mythology. That's what I likened it to, which I think is pretty rare in media, and I liked it a lot. I thought it was a cool like blending of the two like really different settings. I like that a lot.
It made me think of a Monster of the Week monster.
Ooh, okay. We should use
Yeah.
it next time.
Speaking of next time, are you guys open for Friday the 14th?
Oh, why isn't it the 13th?
That'd be better. Because I was
It would be.
thinking
I'm kidding.
like I feel
I
like
am free.
obviously yeah, like every week is way too much. I think we would all
That's
die.
That's too much. I would agree. That's too much for me.
Every 2 weeks also feels like too much. I feel like we'd start to get
I would say I don't know how you guys feel, but maybe like at least once a month.
At least, yeah, I was thinking like at least once a month. And I was
You
thinking
know.
like shooting for like every 3 weeks because that kind of felt like the sweet spot for me. I didn't know about everyone else though.
I mean, I think that's fine for me. Obviously, I think. Well, here's the other thing. I think we can sort of play it by ear as well. If it's going to be roughly once a month, we can sort of like, what about this date? And if it doesn't work, then we're like, okay, this weekend, and just kind of figure it out. And if it ends up being like a month and a half, then it's a month and whatever, you know.
Yeah.
No, from my side at least, no pressure. I have like an amazing amount of fun, but no pressure. So
yeah. I kind of because I was thinking I was talking to some of Kelly's friends that do it, and one of her friends did it every single week, and she's like, I got so burned out. I wasn't even looking forward to it. I started to hate it.
I feel like at a certain point it'd be like, it's this like appointment I have to get to at this time.
Yeah.
So,
and your enthusiasm in it will fluctuate too. So like doing
Right.
it with like less frequency, you know, something like every 3 weeks or once a month, I think is a good pace.
Right. It's almost like I don't know, what's the saying that's like separation is, I don't know. I don't even know what it is. Makes the heart fond or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Distance makes the heart grow fonder.
That's what it is.
Familiarity breeds contempt.
Yeah, you go.
The other half.
It's almost
Psalms
like that, I guess.
112:15. No.
Romans 3:38. I'm just making that up. I don't know.
I don't know.
I feel like if it's every like 3 weeks or like once a month, then it's special. And then you're really excited for it.
It's not this like such a regular thing. It is more of a special thing. Yeah, I agree.
Because if I know it's coming up in 3 weeks, I literally like look forward to it, and like I'm always thinking about. I'm like, oh, it's 1 week closer. Oh, this is gonna be so cool. And then when it finally happens, then I'm like really pumped up and like I'm ready to go. But I feel like if it's like, you know, every week, then it's like it's not even like special at that point. It's just kind of like, oh, you know.
Yeah.
I think
we have a weekly one that we do Thursday that like we have not done weekly for a long time now because same deal. Like it was becoming a burden.
Yeah, because at a certain point it kind of feels like I don't know, week to week can be so busy, whether it's like personal life or work life or both. And there's times even with this little weekly meeting that we have where it's like, oh my gosh, yeah, we have that. Okay, remember, like sort of refocus. This for me is a little bit easier because it's just like it's an hour, it's over
virtual.
It's virtual, you know. But that's a little bit more of a commitment. So it would be very much like, oh crap, I haven't even thought about what we're gonna do or how it's gonna
because it's in person, it's not virtual, it's quite a bit longer. So.
Yeah, and I guess you could, I mean, I suppose you could do virtual, you know, that wouldn't be impossible, but
a lot of people do.
I feel like it wouldn't be as much fun.
I've only ever done it like mixed, like 3 people actually there and like one person
Right.
virtual.
Yeah.
Which even that was weird because it was weird trying to balance the right amount of like
Yeah.
inclusivity.
Right.
And also the
Yeah.
delay would be kind of weird, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Although Jeremy, I would say I am very inclined to try out your idea that you had the other day about sort of doing it over Teams, even if there's
I
like
really want
responses,
to do that.
even
Yeah.
if there's
Re-
responses like that take a couple hours to sort of like,
Yeah.
here's my move 2 hours later or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Well,
I
you
would
guys are down for
totally
that?
I would
Oh,
totally be down for
absolutely.
that. It might, like I
Oh.
said, it might take me a bit to
Oh.
like
Yeah.
respond or catch up or whatever,
Right.
but
Yeah.
I mean, um like today has been it was slower, which was nice.
Yeah.
And I mean that's because of the holiday, so it's not surprising. Well, and also Friday. But
Yeah.
so it was nice. I could actually sort of take a breather. I can focus on other things that I normally can't focus on. um I was able to sort of like have more fun in the chats.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Same.
yeah, I think that would be, I would like
Yeah.
that. That'd be cool. At least to try
Okay.
out,
Okay.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
why
I
not?
I was so hesitant to do it because I wanted to launch it
Yeah.
Wednesday, and I was trying to like pump up Misha. I was like, Misha, it's gonna be so fun, and she's like, I don't know, I'm emo, I don't know, like,
Um,
and
I think Misha is required to join. Like she doesn't have a choice.
Yeah.
I will do my best. I will do my absolute best. She's so
Misha's a lot of fun to
uh,
role play with.
she's
Does she
so
not
hard to
like
get to.
does she not like role playing, or is it just Misha?
Oh no, she
I
loves role playing.
Okay,
She's
I
great
thought
at
yeah,
so. I thought so.
it.
I figured it
it's
was just Misha
so
being Misha. Okay.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, like, that's just her. She likes being by herself. She doesn't like being super social. So like
I
I
get
get
it.
it. I get
I'm
it.
that way too.
Yeah. But
A
she
lot of
does
Yeah.
love
times.
giving people shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
definitely does, and it cracks me up. It's so good. Even if it's towards me, it's amazing.
Yeah, she cracks me up on like a regular basis, like
Yeah.
her wheel of misfortune.
Did I tell you guys about the Oakland Cemetery scavenger hunt?
Hmm.
No,
When we went on the scavenger hunt,
yeah.
I was in a team with
It was you and
Brandon, Brad. I'm trying to think of who else because
oh
I
yeah,
think
that's
it
right. Brandon.
was it you and no, you and Bo were on the other team.
We were
Hmm.
me and Bo happened to be on the same team, which is funny because it was me and Bo, and Bo would have been fine, but it was like, oh, we're on the same team, so we can work together.
Perfect.
All right.
But regardless, like on the way there, like Justin and Misha were just like at each other's throats, and I was like,
Were
okay.
they?
Yeah, just like because I mean they always give each other shit, but then
Yeah.
we're there at the cemetery and they're still like gnawing at each other, and I was like,
Oh
hmm.
dang.
And then when we split groups, Justin and Misha were like, "We'll go together." Sorry, Thomas. And I was like, "What's
Wait a
happening?"
second.
It was more like social than that, because it
Right.
was like a balancing for like who was on. I think people were worried about me and Justin being separate. I was like, we don't care. Um,
Right.
but
Yeah.
afterwards, like once we had convened and like we're comparing notes to see who won, like Justin and Misha are still like just throwing shade each other's way. And so I like pull Justin to the side and I'm like, I know you've been really frustrated by Misha today. And he was like, what? And I was like,
Huh?
I can tell she's getting on your nerves. He's like, we're having a blast. And I was like, okay.
That's amazing. See, I love that sort of like back and forth. They're like, I'm not really sure, but like, yeah.
It was so
I love
funny. I
that.
just read it so wrong.
That's
Hmm,
amazing. I love that.
interesting. I was thinking, okay, so if we do the 14th, which I'm hoping for, I was hoping that I could run the campaign. It'd be like my first attempt at running it, so I might need some help. But I was thinking about
Yeah,
doing
you'll
it
do
in
great.
person.
Like, don't worry about it at all.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I am
Because I might need to like pull Thomas to the
totally
side.
fine.
what do I do here?
Yeah.
I don't-
Y'all didn't
I don't-
do what the fuck I thought you would, and I have no idea how to respond. That's the thing. Like
I don't look. Y'all do whatever. I'll just be there being
Yeah.
Dean. So
Nice. I'm gonna do my
no,
best.
I think you should do it. I think you should do it.
It'll be my first attempt, but I figure for your
character
first...
I'll just make Giles' character sheet.
Oh
Because
yeah.
he's an expert. Like he
Yeah.
is a
Yeah.
defined, or no, he's a professional. He's a defined character. So I'll just write up his
Right.
character sheet, and that way there's no like a new aspect to the group, and that's fine because I really
Right.
enjoy role playing him. Like him as an NPC is a lot of fun.
I
so.
love Giles. Yeah,
Oh, nice.
I like him. Okay,
Very good.
it works. I'm excited
So-
about that. That sounds exciting.
Yeah, I was thinking about bringing multiple hats, and then like as I switch characters, like switching hats.
I think you should do that.
So we'll see.
It's gonna be great when your characters have to talk to each other.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, and you're like
And-
back and forth.
I kind of want to put a couple people from like Novatech in the game. There's a couple of people specifically from
Do
Novatech
it.
that I want to put in the game.
I am so curious who. I think you should do it. I approve.
The monster's ripping someone apart. They look
Oh,
like this,
gosh.
and we're gonna be like, oh no.
Oh my gosh.
A southern man
Trina.
approaches with extremely bad luck. He's portly and obstinate.
Okay, if it's gonna be anybody from Novatech, it's gonna be him. So I approve. Yeah.
No, I can't put David in the game.
I think you
You'd
should.
Maybe-
sense it.
Maybe I can.
He
Maybe I
always
can.
has a bad role, but that
Yeah.
means he always has experience.
So, okay, cool. Well, we'll shoot for the 14th. It'll be my debut. We'll see how I do. I won't be nearly as good as Thomas. Thomas is amazing.
Thomas is like an expert.
Yeah,
Holy cow.
he's like honestly.
I was gonna say
this-
you look a little goatish.
Uh-oh.
I also do animals.
Okay, this is a totally different direction. Did we ever talk about? I don't think we ever talked about Graveyard Shift.
We
Yet.
never talked about it. at
Right, because I
all.
hadn't read it yet. But now I have read it because I've also read The Lawnmower
That's
Man.
the rat one, right?
Yes.
The one with the rat.
Yes.
Okay.
The
cool.
rat
Yes.
one, yeah.
That's what I thought we were
Graveyard
talking
Shift
about today, and you
Well,
guys started talking
we,
about Lawnmower Man. I was like, shit, I didn't read it.
we can talk about it because we never talked about it because I hadn't read it
All
yet.
of them. All of
Let's
them.
talk about all of them. Graveyard Shift was also really gross, but not nearly as gross as Lawnmower Man.
Yeah.
It was particularly gross.
It was very interesting to me. I never really quite, I don't know if it's just something I missed or something I read too much into. I don't remember the character's name now, the main character, like the narrator basically. But he kept having this weird like sort of connection between the like supervisor and the rats, and almost like the supervisor knew about the rats. And remember he leads him down into that like sub basement.
Yeah.
I don't know, it was this weird like connection that he made with them, but it didn't really explain. I feel like it didn't really explain anything to me, and maybe I was just reading way too much into it. Maybe I should go get the book and like try to
Oh, so you almost
find
think
what I was
one of
talking
the
about.
like one of the characters almost had like almost like a psychic connection with the rats, where like they weren't going to attack him, but were going to attack another character? maybe?
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, okay, yeah, sort of, but
Mm,
well, maybe not a psychic connection, but maybe just
Yeah.
he knew why there were so many rats around and why they were so large. Like he knew the history, almost
Oh,
like the
okay.
supervisor knew the history of the place, but he was just keeping it a
Yeah.
secret so that they would clean out that
Oh,
basement.
That's the
Okay.
feeling I got, was that like
that
he
was what
knew
I
it was worse than what he expected them to clean,
right.
and like being a corporate guy was trying to
I
like
was like, well, I'm not gonna
brush
say
past
anything.
it just to get the thing he
Yes.
wanted done.
Mhm.
That was the feeling that I got, but it didn't quite really confirm that. So I didn't really know if I had read that right. But that was the feeling that I got, that I don't remember the supervisor's name, but the main guy that was like, you all have
Paul
to
was the
clean out
main
this.
guy, and Warwick was the supervisor.
Okay, yes. So the supervisor guy, I just kept getting this feeling based on the narrator's feeling that he knew what was underlying, like the
Mhm.
whole the factory or whatever they were working in. But he didn't want to disclose that because upper management was like, we have to clean this out, and it doesn't really matter what the lower people go through.
Mhm.
It has to be cleaned out. And then of course those people discover this sub basement, and then it just becomes this whole thing. But that's kind of what I've got. And then the main character, Warwick, is that what you said, Thomas? Is that his
Warwick
name?
was
Yeah, the
Hall
main.
was the main character. Warwick was the supervisor.
Okay, sorry, Hall.
Hmm.
Sort of, I guess, intuited that or figured it out somehow, where he led the supervisor down into the sub basement to basically, I mean, they all died
Mhm.
seemingly,
Yeah.
but the
Yeah.
And then
first
more
one
people
to
went down.
right,
What a
the
great
first one to
ending.
die at least was the supervisor, because he got eaten or whatever by the giant mutant rat, which was so weird.
Oh man.
But it was almost like, it was like, all right, I know the feeling, the whole feeling that I got was like, I have this feeling that my supervisor is corrupt. He knows more
Mhm.
than he is saying.
Yeah.
But we are just lowly men or lowly workers who are being told to do this thing. So we discover this thing that we discover more information basically. And I realize that he knows about this information previously. And so I'm going to
Mm.
lead him to his death basically because he
Mhm.
deserves it, kind of. That's the feeling that I got throughout the whole story.
The main
I can
character
see
Hall
that.
really gave me Nick, and what was the other guy's
Ooh.
name in The Stand? Was it Mike
Stu?
or Mark?
No.
Stu. Yeah.
Stu? Okay.
Like as a
Oh,
combination
okay.
of those two characters, like it really gave me that vibe.
Yeah.
I felt like I immediately recognized him and liked him very much, and like knew him
Yeah.
as a Stephen King character.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
Interesting.
The supervisor kept calling him, like, what did he call him?
College
College
boy,
boy.
College
yeah.
boy. Yeah.
You big college
Which I feel
boy.
like is
Oh
something
man.
he would call, like, well, I don't know if we know if Stu went to college, but Ralph, was that the other guy who was like the really educated sociology dude in The Stand? Was his
I
name Ralph?
think so.
Glenn. Ralph
Glenn.
was,
Oh yeah,
Glenn.
yeah.
He
yeah.
was
Mhm.
like college boy as far as The Stand
Mhm.
was concerned, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also love how it developed, like seeing Hall realize things throughout the story also gave me, and I relate a lot of things to role playing, but like Monster of the Week vibes, where like,
Mm,
he's going about this and he's like seeing weird things that don't add up and like putting all the pieces together.
right.
Hmm.
Right. That one was
What I
definitely
thought
interesting. Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Oh no, you're totally fine. What I thought was kind of interesting, uh, is it almost seemed like the rats were left alone for so long, they had begun to evolve over time and gain
Yeah.
almost like a society and much
Yeah.
higher level intelligence than
Almost
normal rats.
like almost like sentient. I mean, they're
Yeah,
sentient
Yeah,
because
they're
they let
already
yeah,
him
sentient in a
get
way,
in
right?
farther
But
before
more
the
exactly,
like
exactly.
higher
exactly.
thinking? Yes.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
they had been left alone for like hundreds of years almost, and they were able
Decades,
to
centuries.
evolve over
Yeah.
time because as the two characters are moving deeper into the basement, the rats start to like surround them and move in
Yes. And
behind
follow
them
them. Yeah.
in a very coordinated fashion. And then
Right.
they have the hose and they're trying to use the hose, and
And
the
they're
rats
gnawing
can
through it.
automatically exactly.
Yeah.
So the rats automatically picked up on that and they start gnawing through the hose. and it creates all these leaks, and then the pressure from the hose starts to weaken.
Right.
And I thought that was like an interesting concept, this idea of like a colony of animals left alone for so long that they start to become like this, like higher in intelligence and more
Right.
dangerous.
Right.
And I was like, wow, that's such a cool concept, you know? Like
Right.
I can't think of like another movie or story that really does that.
Like
Maybe Congo by Fright.
monstrification.
I I kept almost thinking, so yes, so yes, my thought was they were left alone for so long that they sort of just became this higher level of thinking creature.
Yeah.
But there was also, it was so brief, where
Mm-hmm.
they got into the sub basement, and I think it was the third guy that went down with them, that who was like the really big dude, but he was terrified of rats or something.
Mm,
Um,
mm.
or maybe it was our main guy who saw this like package or box or
Yeah.
something in the sub basement that had somebody's name on it, and it had like, I don't know, 1867 or something. And he asked the supervisor, like, has this been
Oh.
around? Has this plant been around
Huh.
since this
Oh
time?
yeah, I remember that.
And he was like,
Oh.
no, it like the plant opened in such and such time, which was like way later. So
Oh.
almost like it was so
Huh.
brief, but almost like a hint at like whatever could be in this
Okay.
box is like a,
Yeah.
like I kept thinking like radiation, right? Because I'm so
Oh.
used to stories being like if some animal becomes this
Yeah.
mutant or becomes smarter than it should in real life, it's some sort of
And
radiation.
the old
I don't
unused
know.
room they were clearing out had like a bunch of desks and typewriters from some type of
Right,
company. So that could
right.
Oh.
definitely be like, CIA black site, like cover story
Some
kind of
sort of like
deal,
Mhm.
but like from the
left
1800s.
from leftover thing, yeah, that just sat
Oh.
there and they forgot about, and then it just, all
Yeah.
these rats were breeding and breeding, and then they,
Mhm.
because whatever was sitting down there made them mutant. I don't know, or it could just be the fact
Yeah.
that they were alone for so long. I have no clue. It was so
Yeah.
brief, like a moment in the story, that I was like, I thought more would come out
Mm.
of that, because I
Mhm.
feel like it wouldn't, I feel like Stephen King wouldn't mention that in the story if it
Mhm.
didn't
It was also locked
mean
from the
something.
inside, which makes me
Mhm.
think like a
Yeah,
sentient, like, a
right.
person like was willing to do that.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Interesting. Yeah, he does seem very deliberate with what he puts on the page. He doesn't add like a lot of fluff that doesn't add to the story. So if he
Right.
put it in there, he
It's there for a
probably,
reason.
Right. I feel
yeah,
like
that's,
if he's
yeah.
gonna have a character briefly mention this
Mhm.
box or whatever it was in the
Yep.
basement that
Yep.
had a old date on it and some name that we hadn't heard of,
Mhm.
then it meant
Yep.
something. I just don't know quite what. So it's only speculation.
Yeah. Yeah. He I think he does that a lot where like those
Yeah.
little details, like it almost always means something. He's not just adding it for
It means,
fluff or
yeah, for
filler.
sure, but he's
Mhm.
not necessarily
Yeah.
gonna just serve it to you on a silver platter.
Yeah.
He's gonna make you
He
figure it out.
he's almost like the Riddler, like he leaves the little
Yeah,
clues and
like it's
breadcrumbs.
open-ended. You piece it
Yeah.
together. Yeah.
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 Oh, good, I found it. I wanted to like see if I could find what was on that box.
Yeah, I was about to say I can go grab the book real quick. It's just in the other room, but it was seriously like almost like a line, and then they moved on.
Mm, I getcha. I getcha.
Also, Panu is here.
Hello. Oh, she loves you.
Yeah.
She comes right
I'm
up to
I'm probably uh,
you.
objective, and then
Oh no.
Elias
fur flies over.
Varney, 1841. I'm gonna look up the name Elias Varney and see if that has any historical
Yeah.
significance.
Oh, like historical significance in real. Ooh, good
Yeah.
idea.
I like that.
I am and I don't mean to like, I'm not saying this because I'm bragging or like
Mhm.
overconfident, but I'm probably her favorite person on the entire planet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Does she do that with Bo as well, or just you?
She will. It's funny because I feel like this is actually pretty rare for a cat to genuinely
Mhm.
love both of their owners if they if they
Yeah.
have more than one owner.
Yeah.
But she does I can tell that she genuinely loves both of us, but it's in different
Mm.
ways. It's not the same
Really?
way. Yeah. So
Huh.
I only met Ponyo for the first time when she was 2.
Mm.
So I haven't known her since she was a little baby. Um,
Mhm.
but and it was like when Bo and I first started dating, and so I would come over all the time,
Yeah.
and she would be there because she used to be his roommate's cat,
Oh,
and
really?
yeah, and so I'd come over all the time, and at a certain point, she just I don't know there's no specific moment or thing that happened. She just latched
Yeah.
onto me where she would follow me
Really?
everywhere. I would walk into Bo's apartment and she would be right
Yeah.
there, and still to this day she like I come home and she needs to like groom me like almost like I'm a cat as well, where she will have to like both
Really?
hands and groom me until she is satisfied. Yeah.
What?
Which is basically
Wow.
what's happening now, except she's not kissing me all that much. There she goes a little bit. Um,
Yeah.
it's crazy. And then
Wow.
and still to this day she'll do it. She will do that a little bit with
Yeah.
Bo, but not to the same extent. It's
Oh,
strange.
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I
I
found a
wonder.
couple things about Elias Varney.
Oh, what?
Elias doesn't really come up, but somebody on an old forum for Stephen King was like, "Hey, maybe it's referring to Sir Francis Varney, the vampire," which is a book. Varney the Vampire was published in
What?
1847, um,
What?
and written in 1845. So there's possible that like that's the idea he had. But apparently no, but like he's never said anything about it, and people have asked.
Yeah. He
Okay.
gets very cagey. He gets very
Yeah.
cagey where if you try to pin him down, like, is this
I'm like,
monster
oh.
related to it from, it? And he's like, maybe, so
Yeah,
Yeah,
you got to be
so
careful about confirming canon because then people will like latch onto it,
they
and it's
will be
almost
like,
better
this
they
is
to let
do.
them
real.
wonder.
No, that's
Yeah.
true. I get that from an author's perspective. You don't want to like, yeah, that's true. Because it could just
Yeah.
be some story that you wrote when you were 20 years old and
And
you
Yep.
you
know,
weren't
Yep.
planning it like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
right, and then
Yeah.
later 30 year, or not 30, but like 20 years later wrote some other story that seemingly relates to it, but you didn't mean it for it
Yep.
to, and yeah.
Yep.
And they describe it as a huge wooden box with the name written on it. So like huge wooden box sounds a lot
Yes,
like a
like this
coffin to me, like
big. Okay, that's true. See,
or
I
a
didn't think of a
shipping crate, like
coffin.
something
I was
really
thinking of a
big.
shipping crate, like this massive, like big wooden box. How they used to
Yeah.
ship crates before the shipping the like metal shipping containers were around, basically.
Yeah.
Um, you're getting fur everywhere. I'm like,
It's related to Salem's Lot. I know it.
ooh, yeah.
Well, the vampires are like a bigger deal than you get from Salem's Lot. Like they come
That is
back in
true.
some other
That is a
stories in a very
Yeah, that
grand
is a really
way.
good point.
That's
Um,
true.
And
That's true.
I believe Night Surf is in Night Shift, and that relates to like, the stand. So maybe we could do that one next. That might be cool.
Night
Isn't
Surf.
there, unless I'm totally misremembering, isn't there a novel called Night Shift, or is it just a short story? Or, well,
So
sorry,
Night
the book
Night
that
Shift.
has the short story. Or maybe I'm thinking of Graveyard Shift. That's a
Yeah.
novel.
So yeah, it's really confusing, I thought, because so the story that we read with like the sentient rats is Graveyard Shift, which is a short
Right.
story
Yes.
among a compilation. The
Called Night
compilation is
Shift.
one called Night Shift.
Right.
And then inside Night Shift, there's also a story that relates to The Stand called Night Surf. So it
Okay.
just gets, it gets kind of confusing. But he
That
had
makes
several
sense.
compilations where he,
Yeah.
like Skeleton Crew, all those
Yep.
little short stories that he sent out to like Cavalier, Penthouse, Red Book,
Right.
etc. Put them all together and compiled them in like Skeleton Crew and stuff like that. So
Oh, Children of the Corn was a short story. I assumed it was a novel.
yeah, that's a short story that they just kind of ran with and made like 5 or 6 movies. The Mist as well. So I believe
Yeah.
The Mist appears in Night Shift, and a lot of people think that it's like a full-blown novel, but it's just a short
Because
story.
they made that movie, which I
Yep.
mean,
I
yeah,
love
you can
that
make
movie.
a
I just watched it with Justin for the first time. I'd never
yeah.
seen it before.
They can. I mean, Benjamin Button is a short story, and they made that into like a 3-hour long movie. So
Oh yeah, that's true.
yeah,
That's true. I noticed.
it's a very good movie, but yeah, you would think based on how long that movie is, it's a full length, very long novel, but it's not. It's a short story.
Interesting. I kind of hope that our next one for next week is Mrs. Todd Shortcut from Skeleton Crew. I'll have to get the
We can
PDF to you
totally do
guys,
that. Yeah.
but if you guys liked Fairy Tale and you like the whole Dark Tower mythos, I think you guys would be really into it because it has all those themes, those reoccurring themes.
Yeah. I'd be
Okay.
down. I'd be down.
Oh,
Anya.
She's so sweet. She's the best giddy ever.
Mm.
Look at the camera. You don't care.
She's like, no.
Like, I don't care. She does like being on camera, just pretending like she doesn't know about it.
She knows.
Truly, though, whenever Bo joins a meeting for work, she will just seemingly jump up in his lap and be there on the meeting. It's like, you know.
I can tell you're interacting with things that
know.
aren't here, and
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah. She has a little sixth sense for that.
Interesting.
She's literally just purring so loud right now.
Aww.
Well, I can't wait till Newton gets back to acting like himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's so close.
He's so
Yeah.
close. He's doing
No,
so good.
The side effects of that medicine are like very strong lethargy and fatigue and tiredness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I mean,
So-
I hope he gets all the rest that he can get too.
Oh yeah, no, he's living it up,
yeah.
honestly.
Yeah, I'm sure
Just
he
wakes up
is.
and he's like, and he has food left because he gets tired while he eats because it makes
Aw.
him tired. So like
Yeah.
he keeps having food left. So he'll like walk into the kitchen because it's the first thing he does when he wakes up. He's like, let's go find out if I have more food. And he goes and he looks at it and he's like, oh sweet, I do. And then he eats it and he's
Yes.
tired again. So he just goes and lays down.
Oh, that's kind of cute though. It's really cute.
Love it.
No, I hope he recovers quickly.
Yeah.
He
I'm glad he's doing
screamed
better.
at me for food this morning. So he's doing much better.
Too
Like-
slow.
He only first meowed for food for the first time like maybe 2 days ago, and this morning I walked out there and he was like meow, like ran into the kitchen. I was like, okay.
All right, you're back to your normal self enough to scream for food.
Is she done grooming you for the day?
She's doing it a little bit here and there, but now she's like, you need to groom me. So I'm literally just here constantly like rubbing.
I love it.
It's
She
funny.
just wants-
Newton will lick you on accident. He like he's a little tubby, so like he'll like sit on his back and his butt like a big old boy, like a person, and like and like groom himself. And if you're next to him, he'll like meander off of his own body, like onto you, like he doesn't
Mm-hmm.
even notice. So like he'll like go down to his arm, and if your hand's right there, he'll like start moving onto your hand and then like stop and like look at it and be like, wait, that's not me.
Oh.
That's hilarious because we did the same thing, basically the same thing with Ponyo, where she'll just be grooming herself, right? And then you can just slide your hand in there and she'll just start licking your hand, but she won't really stop and be like, oh, that's not me. She'll just continue until you pull your hand away. It's hilarious. But
That's
she
funny.
will groom both of us, but she does me more often, especially like when I come home. She's like, I have to groom
Really?
you. I have to
Yeah,
groom you. Like
you're
wherever you've
filthy.
been, like this is my greeting to you. This is how I show you love. This is like you're dirty. You've been
Really?
out there. I have to groom you.
Yeah.
You've
And
been
then
out there.
yeah, and then she wants me to groom her. So
Oh.
like, which is really just like petting and giving her scratches and stuff. But if you think about like kitties laying with each other where they're like constantly licking each other and rubbing against each other
Yeah.
and all that stuff, that's
Yeah.
basically what she's doing with me. And
Oh,
then she wants me to return the favor. So
Mm.
that's what
now
she
I am
wants from
ready.
yeah, that's what she wants from me right now. And her head is literally buried into my armpit right now.
I wonder.
Ponyo.
I wonder if she thinks that you're like another cat.
That's kind of what honestly that's kind of what I've always thought. Like she just sees me as a fellow cat. I
Yeah.
I have no
Oh,
clue. It is so you know how people say like um you don't choose cats, cats choose you. One,
Yeah.
because it's I mean it's totally true.
yeah.
Um but she 100% chose me.
Hmm.
Because again, she was my not my roommate, Bo's roommate's cat. And I just
Yeah.
came over to hang out and visit. And she
Yeah.
just like
And
literally
Ponyo's like, oh, there
latched.
you are.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
serious. She just latched onto me. And it wasn't like she only ever saw a few people her entire life.
Yeah.
The house that Bo used to live in was with like 5 other guys that he went
Oh
to
my
college
God.
with. And then
Like a
across the
frat
street,
house.
I mean, pretty much, except that they weren't in a frat. But it was a big old house in Nashville, and like 5 or 6
Hmm.
dudes lived there, and one of them adopted her, who was not Bo. Um, and then across the street, there was a girl full of, or was it a house full of girls, like probably 5 ladies, who would come over and hang out all the time, and they were all friends and hung out
Oh.
and whatever. And so she saw tons of people like all the time because friends would come over to the houses, obviously, and it's college. So,
Yeah.
people would be over all the time. So it wasn't like she never saw people. And then I come over a few times and she was like, you're the one.
Oh my
Oh.
gosh.
I
What?
don't,
How was the transition that like when Bo moved out or however that worked, like that like the roommate was like, I guess this is your cat now. It loves you a
Yeah.
lot
basically.
more than me.
So, well, here's the other thing
Yeah.
too. So people are always like, well, it's because you feed her. And I was like, I've literally never fed her in my life. And I promise you, she thinks I'm the best thing in the whole world. Um,
What?
So yeah, so when we it was probably like a year and a half later, Bo was gonna move to back to Georgia.
Hmm.
Um and I decided to come with him. And I mean I was living in a different place, but so I decided to like about a month later I moved to Georgia as well. And he literally talked to his roommate. He was like, dude, I am like kind of afraid for Ponyo's life if I move out and don't take Ponyo with me because basically at
She's
that
What?
gonna
point,
go into depression. Yeah.
right? Well, that, but also basically at that point, Bo was her primary caretaker because
Yeah.
his roommate, who was the one who got her, who adopted her, was out all the time for work. He was almost never home. And then he happened to be dating a girl at the time who is now his wife, who is like really
Hmm.
allergic to cats. So even it wouldn't have worked anyway. So he was like, "Hey, dude, I'm moving. Um, I'm gonna take her with me unless you object. And his roommate was like, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like,
Nice.
she'll be good.
That's cool that the roommate was understanding.
Yeah, he was super understanding. He's a really nice guy. He's a great guy. And he loves cats and he loved Ponyo, but he did totally realize that he just was not around very much. And it just wouldn't have worked out anyway with his wife and stuff. So, because she's really allergic to cats. But so basically, Bo was like, okay, cool. And so there was a time, like Bo was sort of like half living here. And there was one weekend where I picked Ponyo up and I drove her to Lawrenceville, and we moved her in with Bo. And she's been here ever since. So
yeah.
I was like, we have to give her, if she's not gonna live with you here in Georgia, because there was a moment where he was like, I'm not sure if where I'm gonna live is gonna allow cats or pets at all. I was like, all right, well, we're fostering. We are not giving her away. We are fostering, if anything. Or if we are giving away, it has to be like a really good family, because I was so attached to her at that point. I could not.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she's been here ever since.
Was she always named Ponyo?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
what?
his roommate David named her Ponyo.
Really?
After the movie Ponyo.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is like, story. It's such a good name. It's a great story. Yeah. Yeah. It's a very good story.
She was like, you should be my new owner. I like you.
I mean, basically, she's like, it's you.
Yeah. That reminds me of my first cat when I moved out. He definitely chose me. I got off the bus to walk home from work, and there was a black cat just sitting there. And I was like, hey, buddy. And I just like bend down and like pet him. And I walk home, and he just followed me home. And when I got back to like the apartment and I like walked in the door, you had to do this like weird like dance jig to walk in, because it was steps down with a square drain grate and then a screen door without a spring. And the drain grate was gross city drain. So you had to like open the door and like hop over and get in like over like the goop to get to like the back stairwell. And we didn't use the front door because there was a shelf in front of the door because it was a 500 square foot apartment. So I like looked back and I didn't see the cat anymore. And I was like, oh. And so I like do the little dance and get inside. And my roommate at the time was like, a cat just like followed you. And I was like, oh, I looked and didn't see it. And he's like, no, he followed like right behind you into the stairwell. He's in the stairwell right now. And I was like, what? And I opened the door and there's the cat. And he just walked in. And like,
okay, thanks for letting me into my home.
He loved me, like to the point that it was awkward. I would wake up and he'd just be sitting on my chest looking down at me like heavy man purring, just like
yeah, it's quite strange to sort of, I've never been in that position with a cat before, or any animal. I mean, so one of my childhood cats was very friendly with basically everybody, and I played with her all the time, and she was very sweet, but our connection was nothing like that. It was like nothing like me upon it. It's quite strange to be in this sort of position where like this animal, it like loves you, and it feels weird to be like, oh yeah, like I'm her favorite person or whatever, but I'm not just saying that to be like pompous and weird about it. Like it's I mean, it's like objectively true.
And the interesting thing is how it doesn't communicate across different animals, because I've met friends' cats and I'm like, I love cats, I'm a cat person, and the cats have just been like, not you, bro. Don't fucking like you. Like,
they're just like, don't like your vibe. Like, okay, cool. I love all cats, but fine, whatever.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's so weird.
I've never had that connection with an animal. Who would walk under the furniture, and you'd hear like heavy knocking, because Vincent would walk under furniture and just bam and like bam his head against the furniture. So you always knew where he was because you just hear like loud knocks, and like he did it all the time really hard. Like it sounded like a knock at the door, and it was him smashing his stupid little kitty head. He'd
Aw.
like walk down, but he did it on purpose. He'd like
Yeah.
walk down the hallway like near the wall and stop and be like, bam, and then keep going. So weird.
Oh my god.
Like a sonar cat.
Maybe it was.
You
That's hilarious.
guys can call me crazy and weird, and I don't even care. But my feeling is like animals have this like instinctive way to pick up on your wavelength. And
Oh
if
yeah.
you're like,
100%.
on their same wavelength, and if you're like a good person, they'll attach themselves to you.
Yep.
Like I feel like I've heard so many stories about dogs or cats that pick up on someone that's weird or kind of freaky, and then like a month later it turns out like the person's like, a criminal or something like that. I really do feel like they have some sort of way of
Like
telling
they're
like
like filtering
Yeah.
other information that
Yeah.
we don't have access
No,
to kind of deal.
yeah, I
you're
really
you're
do
not
think
weird for
that.
thinking that. I
Yeah.
100% believe that, and you cannot convince me otherwise.
Yeah.
The fact
Yeah.
that cats and dogs and just like animals in general can sense like natural disasters
Yeah. Yeah.
coming before they actually happen. If they
Yeah.
can do that, then they can sense things about people like an
Yeah.
aura almost, or
Yeah.
Right.
some
Right.
other energy basically coming from people. Oh, 100% believe that.
Yeah.
So my parents have our family dog. She's, oh gosh, I don't know how old. 15 years old this year.
Yeah.
So we've had her for a while, obviously, and she's so sweet. She can be really stubborn, like silly stubborn, but she's really
Yeah.
sweet, and she's not mean or unkind at all. But there was this
Yeah.
one time where we went to the beach, and she was there relaxing on the beach, and this lady walked by,
Mhm.
and she was just like nonstop growling at this
Yeah.
lady as she walked by, and it was like we were
Yeah.
looking at her like, this is so strange. And like, I don't know this lady at all. I've never seen her in my life. She's just walking by, but I'm sorry,
Right.
that alone tells me that you are not a good
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's never once like growled or bitten at somebody, and this
Right.
one time, yeah. So I 100% believe that that they can like sense things off of people
Mhm.
that other people can't, like that we can't see coming off of each other basically. Oh yeah,
Right.
that's totally true.
Right.
My grandpa on my mom's side was kind of a monster. Not ever to me, but I had like heard stories, and he lived down the street from us, and like we weren't allowed to go there alone, like it was a thing.
Oh wow.
And all of our animals, all like very sweet, like wonderful
Yeah.
animals, they all fucking hated him.
Yeah.
Like,
Wow.
yeah.
Something
So like he
not
would
right.
like
There's
come
something not
over and like
right.
hang out, and like yeah, they would just like growl
Yeah.
at
Wow.
him and like attempt to bite him like really
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah. Just something not right for sure. And you're like, look, I know these animals.
That's wild.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's very strange.
My mom would always tell me the story about this woman, and her house was haunted, like it had a ghost in it. And
Yeah.
once again, this might make me sound like a complete crazy
No,
person,
I'm
but
already loving this.
I 100% believe in ghosts, all the way. Ouija boards are real, whatever.
No,
I don't care.
I'll admit right now that I believe it
Yeah.
as well. I will not touch a Ouija board.
Oh no, no, certainly
Nope.
not. And he had a dog. This woman, when her parents would leave, she didn't even like to be in the house alone. It was that
Yeah.
scary and like haunted to be in this house. And she had a dog that would pick up on a presence in the laundry room, and it would always stay in the laundry room, and it would growl and look at things that weren't
Yeah.
there and
Nope.
bark at things that weren't there, and it was always centralized in the laundry room of the
Interesting. Yeah,
house.
that's a lot of like
That would freak
Oh
me
tangential
out.
my
like
god.
evidence. Like a dog
Yeah.
that's
Yes.
consistently doing that is like
Right.
Yeah.
Not just this one area of the house like a couple times. It's like that one area
Yeah.
all the time. Yeah.
Yep.
No way. Yeah, that would convince me. Like, I'm not necessarily believing that you're gonna see a ghost, like some being appear before you, but I don't
Yeah.
know. Like, I'm I'm not a okay. I definitely am not a conspiracy theory person. I do not subscribe to conspiracy theories because they could just get
Yeah.
wild and crazy and out of control. But
Yeah.
I am definitely of the opinion that like if you think that we are the only living beings in the entire universe, that's probably crazy. Like there's no possible way,
Yeah.
right? I don't know what's
Yeah.
out there. I'm not gonna sit here and claim that I know what's out there, but I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
open to the
It's
idea.
probably not just us, though.
Probably not just us though. One planet in one universe full of billions of universes. I mean, come on. But same sort of thing where it's like if you have this like if scientists have discovered this quantum world, why can't there
Yeah.
be a world that is on the other side of the veil of sort, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly.
that's almost a quantum world is almost like ghosts. You just can't see it. It's there. You
Pretty
just can't
much.
see it. It's just so tiny you can't
Yeah.
see it. So why can't
Right.
why can't that exist? Why can't ghosts exist?
Right. Well, and it
I
reminds me of
heard,
what I posted this morning, where it was, what did it say? The magnitude of the sun was 400 times that of the moon, but Earth just so happens to be 400 times the distance away from
Oh
it,
yeah, so
so
they
that they
appear the
line
same
up perfectly
size.
for like a
Right.
solar eclipse. They'll line up perfectly, and I'm
Right.
like,
Yeah.
okay, obviously that wasn't a coincidence. That's insane, you
Right.
know?
yeah,
Exactly.
solar
I mean,
eclipses are a great example of like, are we sure that's
Yeah.
random? Like,
Right, right, exactly.
right.
Like
It's
this,
not yeah. In the
it doesn't do that for other planets. Like, no
right,
other
yeah.
planet that we
exactly. That's
found
what I'm
like
saying, Thomas.
has a
It's
moon that
crazy.
eclipses its
Right.
Yeah.
parent
Do you
star.
not
Like,
think
And
there
the
was
none.
some sort
fact
of, you know?
and the fact that ancient civilizations were able to figure it out to the point where they built
Yes.
whole buildings
Yeah.
and things around an eclipse. Like
Right.
come on.
Right.
I don't know.
That that okay, you guys might get mad, but that to me certainly says like there's some sort of intelligent design behind everything that we
Oh, there
see
has to
around
be.
us, and it's not just random evolution. There's something
I don't think it's
thinking
random.
and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
designing it. Whether
I
that,
don't
whether it's a simulation or aliens or whatever, it does certainly appear to be
right.
designed, in my opinion. You can get mad at me, but whatever.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, no, I've definitely so there's like those conspiracy theory people out there who are like, well, how did Stonehenge get there? Or how did like Easter Island be? What
Yeah.
did it, like how did that get there? Like they didn't have the tools to bring those giant boulders and whatever to an island,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. What if it I have no clue. What if it was sort of other beings helping civil
Yeah.
I have no clue. I mean, that'd be really cool. I'm not
Yeah.
ruling it out, but also, I mean, maybe there is a more logical explanation.
I
I don't
can't
know.
Right.
remember his name, but there's a scientist who's got an English accent and he's very soft spoken, and it's
He
just
sounds
delightful to
even
listen to him.
smarter. Okay.
But I don't think it was a Joe Rogan interview. I think it was a different interview that I was watching with him. But the guy was talking about like ghosts and like, like what do
Yeah.
you think about the
Yeah.
supernatural? And he was like, well, light's really interesting and we know exactly how it works. And for you to see a thing, there has to be something there for it to interact with. So if there's a
Oh, interesting.
ghost and you can see it, then that means light has to hit it. So it has to be made of something. And I
Right.
was like,
No,
Right.
that's true. There has
whoa,
to be
I've
some
never
sort
thought
of
of it like that. Like,
that's
that's
true.
incredible. And I thought
There
about
has to
Yeah.
ghosts a
be
lot. Like,
some sort of physical thing that, yeah. Oh
Right.
my gosh, you're right. Yeah.
yeah, I
Ooh, that's
remember it
creepy.
just being like a mind blow. Like all the time I'd spent in my life, like loving the supernatural and fantasy. And I never thought about it as simply as that. And it just like really like
Yeah.
made me
Right.
realize like there can be so much more. Like, and I don't have enough of a mind to figure it out. But like also, like a dog barking at the same part of a creepy house consistently, like I think it makes more sense for most things that are weird to not be able to be observed,
Right.
because otherwise it would have been
Yeah.
observed more readily and documented.
Like, yeah, no, I
Yeah.
agree. Like, sure, okay, whatever, seeing is believing, but just because you can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Because
Yeah.
we know
Yeah.
there are things that exist that are smaller than the human eye could ever see.
Yeah.
Most
I mean,
things,
that's why we have
actually.
many things. Microscopes exist
Exactly.
for a reason.
And like when you start to get into hallucinogens like ayahuasca, and people have
Yeah,
stories about talking with beings on like another plane
right. You're
and
like,
interacting with them, then it
yeah,
starts to get really weird because you're like,
and you're
are
like,
you
What's your number? DMT.
maybe you're crazy.
Call me.
Maybe it's just the drugs, or maybe you're right. I
yeah,
don't know.
exactly. Maybe it's the drugs, or maybe you really are interacting
Yeah,
with something that we can't see.
I mean,
It's to the point where people even would take ayahuasca and then go in with math problems and then present them to the creatures they would meet and be like, "Can you solve this math problem?" just to prove that they are in
Oh,
fact
interesting.
sentient and
that
actually
is
exist.
interesting. Right. If they
Yeah,
can solve math, which is like
I'd like to
exactly.
universal
watch that
everywhere,
or read that
math is
if you
Yeah,
have it.
universal across all languages.
exactly.
Like
There's so
math
many
is.
people. Yep,
Yeah,
yep. So many people have these experiences that
that's
college
crazy.
professors have
Yeah,
taken ayahuasca and then gone under, and then they're like presenting these other creatures math problems like, can you solve this? Because if you can, then that's definitive proof that you exist, you know?
right.
So it's pretty wild. Yeah.
And the
Unless
spirit
it's
angels are
another.
like, we're not going to solve your equations for you. Like,
Yeah.
you got to do
I was
some work.
Well, so my only thought about that is that
Yeah.
unless it is just a recess of their brain that is hallucinating
True.
and it's
True.
their own
Yeah.
brain solving it.
Yes,
I think
exactly.
even if it
That's
is that, that's as
oh,
important an answer as, any
Yeah,
other answer. So,
yeah.
sure. Yeah.
and I wish I had
That
got my hands on DMT in my drug days. I did plenty of hallucinogens, but
yeah.
never anything so organized.
Yeah. You guys actually raise a good question. It's almost like, should you give it a math problem that you haven't already solved, which then in fact
Mm,
would be definitive proof that you're talking with something else.
Well, a lot
true.
of our
Or
knowledge of the world isn't concrete. It's
right.
the best that we have right now. Like, relativity is still a
Yeah.
theory. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't always fit in every situation. Like, there's still some things that are weird about it. That's why dark matter's
Yeah.
a thing, because
Yeah.
like
Right.
within relativity, how we understand the world, there's a lot of unaccounted for mass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
Yeah.
so
Hmm.
there's plenty of like really advanced level equations that, like, if they could be expounded upon, I think would be like, some type of evidence.
I'm
Yeah.
curious.
I still almost my rational brain is still almost like, okay, well, if you present it with an equation that you have not been able to solve, maybe just the drugs have just like opened up these avenues and synapses and whatever in your brain that you couldn't access
Yeah.
before, and you figured it out on the drugs. I don't know.
Oh
I don't know.
man. Oh, I would love to do some studies where you give like a mathematician drugs and see if they can solve stuff that they weren't able to before.
Right.
That
I
reminds me of
figured it out.
a Tom Yun video I watched. Do y'all know who Tom Yun is? Yun,
No.
I
Asian
don't think
gentleman,
so.
Who is that?
who's a he does a podcast on Maximum Fun. Um,
Hmm,
See if I can find a picture of him and post it in the chat. Y'all might
excellent.
recognize him from videos, but not realize that's who it is.
Yeah.
But I watched a video of his, and it was a project he was doing. I can't remember if it wasn't his thesis, but he was trying to figure out if bees perceive time. And he was like, so, we like brought like, like sugar water to a place every day at 4 o'clock, and the bees came out. And then they were like, well, what if they're like just responding to, other stimuli? So like they did it in different areas, and they were like, well, what if they're responding to like the angle of the light? So like they did it in a cave. And like,
Really?
they bring the sugar water to the bees, at the same time every day, and then take it away, and the bees
Yeah.
would still come out and go there and, try to find the sugar water. And they were like, what if they're measuring the magnetic field of the earth, and that's how they're doing it, like, and
Yeah.
it's not light based. So they did the
Yeah.
experiment and then flew the bees to a different location, and the bees came out at the wrong time because they had jet lag. So they proved that bees are able to perceive time.
What?
Interesting.
But they had to go through all of these hoops to make sure that that's what they were perceiving, as opposed to some other sense that,
Well, I was
Yeah.
thinking
we
maybe
weren't
they're just
accounting for.
smelling. They're just smelling it, and so they come out because they smell it
Oh,
in the area.
right.
Even interesting. Yeah. That's one very fascinating thing for me to think about or read about, is how
Oh,
other animals, or really even individual people, perceive time, because not even every human perceives time in the same way, and certainly not every animal perceives time in the same way. And the whole like fact that time as we define it is just a construct, and
yeah.
it's wild. It's funny to see like Ponyo's time sense sort of gets skewed or shift when daylight savings ends or begins, because
Oh,
we have an automatic feeder, and so when daylight savings changes, she will either be confused and want food earlier, or late, or like not needed until later, because like there's a whole hour difference.
yeah.
And she just like, you can tell she's literally just going by like the sun up and the sun down, because we feed
Huh.
her, like we have to feed her twice a day instead of just leaving food out, because she'll just overfeed
Yeah.
herself. But so we'll feed her in the morning, or we set the feeder to feed her in the morning and in the evening. But she really, obviously, she doesn't know what time 7:30 is or whatever.
Yeah.
So she's really just like, oh, well, the sun is up, I should have my food by now, or the sun is down, I should have my food by now. And so she gets confused by that when
Oh,
daylight savings
Oh,
changes, and it
interesting.
totally screws her up.
yeah. Huh.
And we're like, no, you gotta wait like another hour, because it's not time yet, I promise.
Yeah, we're wondering how
Yeah.
Newton's going to respond once he like starts really like being more like himself, and he's not affected by the medication as much, because
Hmm.
we used to
Yeah.
feed him at like 7 in the morning, after work at 4, and then again at 8. But now we're
Yeah.
feeding him 8 hours apart. So I get up at 6 and
Yeah.
feed him at
Yeah.
2, and feed him at 10. So I'm afraid that like once he gets used to like how the medication hits him, it's going to hit 8 o'clock, and he's going to be like, all right, assholes, like I'm
Yeah.
about to ruin your
Yeah.
night for the next 2 hours.
Totally. And I'm
Oh
sure
man.
Newton, for sure, because Ponyo does too, has their little like morning routines, and their little like mid morning routines, and their afternoon routines, and like, and it depends on
Yeah.
how the sun shifts throughout the apartment, at least for
Oh.
Ponyo. Because in the morning it's like Bo gets up and makes coffee, so she goes hangs out with him while he makes coffee, and then like, well, she'll eat before that. And then like the sun is starting, just because of the way in where we are currently, we get the sun coming in the morning.
Hmm.
So she'll have like all of her sunspots that she sort of follows throughout the day, and like her routines for naps and places that she goes. And it's this
What?
whole routine every single day based on how the sun moves throughout and so it's, you can
That's
tell, it's just
interesting.
like, yeah, it's so
That's
cool.
crazy.
I mean, obviously she has no idea what time it is, and we
Yeah.
only know what time it is because we made it up, really. But
Right. Right.
it's so cool to see.
Wow.
I did
I
find a video.
Fascinating.
It's like a minute long.
Yeah.
I sent it to
Oh
you
yeah,
guys.
you sent something. You sent a video in there. I'm gonna have to watch that. That sounds really cool.
Yeah, it's entertaining.
I'm definitely
Also,
gonna
his
watch it.
personality, like all of his stuff, is great.
Hey, let me Melissa. It's gonna mute it, but I don't think. I feel like maybe I've seen something from him before because he's vaguely familiar. But yeah, Tom Lum. Okay, that's awesome. I'm gonna watch this.
We may want to think about ending the podcast. I think it may have gone for 2 hours.
That's true. I think it's been a while. It's okay. I've had fun.
Yeah,
a good one.
that was
We talked some books. We talked
mentally.
some like meta stuff.
Yeah, we got out there,
no,
bro.
We did get out there, bro.
yeah, that was very mentally stimulating. So that was like awesome. I was never bored at any point, so I was very into it.
Clearly, I
Me
needed
too.
to talk about kitties.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's true. That's true. And I'm always happy to talk about kitties. And
Yeah.
Jeremy, you have kitties now too, so.
You
Yes,
understand?
we all have kitties. All
You
of
should
us.
it should just be a failed foster and you adopt them.
Oh, I would not call that a failure at all.
I think they technically call it that
From a
because
foster
like
point of view, it
from
is.
a foster point of
No.
view, it's a failed
No.
like foster or whatever.
I had to
think
give
they
Newton to somebody for a week, and they were like, "Actually, it's
but
my cat now. I killed him."
Yeah, that's just
Yeah.
a success in my book.
Yeah, no, I agree. But from a fostering point of view, it's a failed foster because you were like, I
That's
can't
true.
give
They're
them
like,
away.
you never return them, so yeah, the giant red X.
Right.
Oh man. We will see if we keep them or not. We will see.
No, I mean, not putting any pressure on you. You do whatever you want.
I'm curious.
They will
yeah.
be, I mean, they've been fostered by great people and they will go to great people. So either
Absolutely.
way, they will be happy. So
Absolutely. If either one of you want some new cats.
oh no, I wish I could, but Ponyo would
Same.
hate it.
Oh,
Newton's
no.
scared of things that move fast.
Yeah.
So cats are
Kittens
definitely
especially
that.
move fast.
Fair.
Ponyo would be like, "What have you done? You know I hate these things."
What is this? This is not the same species. Get
You're
it
not
away
shitting
from
in the
me.
hallway every
And
night now,
it's
right?
so much smaller and more has more energy than they usually do.
I'm scared. All right. Well, we should end it. Everyone needs food at this
I am
point.
hungry.
Everyone's hungry. Yeah. Fair. All right. Adios. Have a good long weekend to everyone.
Bye.
Excellent. Bye.
Bye,
See ya.
sluts.
Read a lot.
Bye.